Concerned Citizens Movement Party. But we do invite and accept all shades of public opinion. And I think that this is one of these shows which has made it its hallmark to really engage in meaningful debate. My only request, as always, is that we disagree where necessary, but we do not be disagreeable, that we respect each other, we respect the standards that the radio station and the show have set. We know here at Von Radio only the best will do. And so when we open the phones, as we do each Wednesday, we ask you to be respectful, firm, no doubt, in your opinion, but respectful of the show, respectful of each other, and respectful of those whom perhaps you're speaking of, even those whom you're criticizing. It is important in a democracy that we defend our right to speak as much as we defend the other person's right to speak. And only so, in my view, will we grow and develop and ensure that our democracy remains strong. And so I welcome one and all to another edition of this show. For those who are listening on radio, it means that you're at 860 on your AM dial. We welcome you. For those who are listening via the World Wide Web, then you're at www.vonradio.com. And I'm told that we're streaming live on YouTube and on the Von Radio Facebook page. And so we welcome one and all, and not just on radio, but on TV now, it appears, or certainly video live feed as well, to this another edition of On the Mark. Straight talk across the narrows, that's what we engage in. No obfuscation, no spin, just direct conversation. And I believe that that is why this show has lasted this long. And I thank all who have contributed and made it possible. Now, I want to say a special good evening to our friends in North America. They tune in religiously, those in Boston and Connecticut and New York and New Jersey, those in Florida, those across the land in California. I know that we have many listeners, and I thank them for tuning in, and I say good evening to them all. Nevis is a little bit rainy tonight. We're not complaining because we need the rain. As you know, we've been going through a bit of a drought. I want to, of course, welcome those in the Caribbean, particularly those in places like Anguilla and Saba and Statia, those in St. Martin, those in the USVI and the British Virgin Islands. I want to say good evening to all, and again to say welcome to one and all to another edition of this show. For those in the United Kingdom and elsewhere, welcome to you as well. Tonight we hope to have a show that we lay out certain accomplishments of the Nevis Island administration, and we try to invite some debate and discussions in that regard. At the top of the show, I like to bring some announcements where there have been some difficulties in the community. And on my way here, I got a very sad call that Nevis has lost Cassandra Paris Roberts. She is a former matron at our hospital, and we had the news from the family that she passed away. I would want to extend it to the family, the Paris family, Judy and all the others, my sincerest regrets at the passing of the aunt, Cassandra Paris Roberts. She would have served Nevis well in terms of the health sector. To have been matron at the hospital, of course, in those days could not have been easy. And I would want to share with them our deepest condolences and to let them know that the prayers of the multitude will comfort them in their hour of bereavement. Let her life be remembered for her service to the people of Nevis and to the wider community of St. Kitts and Nevis. So please accept our deepest condolences from all of us here at Von Radio and all of us here and On the Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, we have today had my monthly press conference. It was regrettably not in the month of April, but in the month of May, the first day of May. That was unavoidable because yesterday we were supposed to have a sitting of the National Assembly, and the thinking was that it was better to postpone my press conference and so allow myself to be there in Bastille for that sitting. As it turned out, that sitting was postponed itself, but in any event, we had the press conference today. I thought it was a good press conference in the sense that I was able to share quite a bit of information. I don't propose to go over all that again. The introduction was a bit long. I have had some persons who have got in touch with me to say that I need to make it a bit shorter, so I commit to that. It's a learning experience. Of course, the idea of a Premier's press conference is a new idea. It is something that I ushered in when I took office in December of 2017, and I have maintained that. We have committed to a few things: a monthly press conference, a meeting of the Nevis Island Assembly at least every 2 months. And thus far, I believe that we have kept our commitment in that regard. And the House has been meeting regularly. We have regularly been meeting with the press. regularly opening up ourselves to scrutiny, as I believe we should. And I continue to say that I pride myself on being accessible. I would remind members of the public that every Wednesday, God willing, I'm here once I'm on island. Every Thursday, once it's possible, I have what is called an open day. And for many who don't understand what that open day means, I've been doing it for many, many years now. And all it means is that once I get in, normally I would start at about 8:30, I see whoever comes. And so whoever comes without an appointment, I will see them until, of course, no one else is there to be seen. My record thus far is 32 people on one Thursday. That was a rough Thursday. But generally I do maybe 18 or 20 people on a regular. So the truth is that it gives me an opportunity to continue to interact. And I even had people who come from St. Kitts on a Thursday to see me, and that too is fine. So I try to be accessible, here on the mark, through my press conference, certainly my Thursday open days, and I continue to engage at every possible opportunity that I have with individuals. So I think that I am trying. It is not always the easiest thing to balance, of course, the demands of constituency and other demands, the demands of governance, the demands of family, but it is the calling that I've chosen. It is something that I've chosen to do, and as a consequence, I will continue to do the best that I can. Today, I thought it was an interesting time in terms of the information at the press conference, and there's quite a bit of information. Tonight, I don't propose to delay unduly, but I wanted to just raise a few matters that I think are of some interest. I'm very proud that we have been able to finish the road linking Cherry Gardens area to Brownhill. At Bypass Road, I think, is going to prove a critical artery for that area to develop. There are lots of lands, vacant lands in that area. We have, through that road, enhanced the property values, but also made that area far more desirable now for housing. And it is my desire that our people know that the infrastructure is in will do what they need to do in terms of development of that area. I'm also very proud that the people of Bath Village, after many, many years, can now boast of the end of the first phase of their own road, that is in Lower Bath, and we commit that that work will continue. We permitted to the first phase, that's where the financing was available, but we will not, Bath Village, forget you. I, as your representative and as a Premier of Nevis, I'm committed to ensuring that the main road in Bath is also done. But at this point, we are very pleased that we've completed the lower side, and by all accounts, the people of Bath Village are well pleased. And so I would want to certainly congratulate Minister Spencer Brand, who leads the team in public utilities, posts, and public works, to say to him that we are very impressed with his stewardship thus far, to thank him and thank his entire team, his permanent secretary, Dr. Ernie Stapleton, the director of Public Works, Mr. Raoul Pemberton, certainly the man who has been charged with many of the road works and is the lead, Danny Williams, and the entire team. I think they've done an excellent job. It would, however, be remiss of me if I didn't also commend the Honorable Troy Liebert, who was there before, and who really took the mandate given by the Nevis Island administration and the Honorable Vance Emery, who was then Premier, to ensure that our people were empowered. And he ensured that we had the necessary equipment and that we had the necessary training, so that now we are reaping the benefits from the experts at Public Works. They're producing roads of fine quality. And I made the point today because I think it's an important point, that government policy can drive sustainable development. Let me say that again. Government policy can drive sustainable development. Why do I say that? The Honorable Vance Emery as Premier and the Cabinet at the time decided that we wanted all major infrastructural works to be done by Nevisians, by companies here in Nevis, and the inputs should come from us. Argument that we posited was that we had the training, we had individuals who had their engineering and other degrees, we had the trucks and the equipment, we have the quarry that belongs to us, and we should put them to work in the development of the island of Nevis. And that is the policy that we've adopted. As a result, a lot of young people in Nevis are now buying trucks, they're buying backhoes, they're buying excavators, various bits and pieces of equipment, and they themselves have become entrepreneurs. Why? Because of the government policy, that they should be included in the development. I've coined a phrase that we're building Nevis for us, by us. We're building Nevis for us, by us. And that I think is important, because what that means is that every dollar that is spent by the government in terms of infrastructural development circulates here within our local economy. And so it's no surprise to me that as I go back to my phone here where I've made a few notes, that in terms of the economy, in terms of what is happening here on the island of Nevis, I think it is instructive that in terms of business licenses, we have seen in Nevis some 1,356, I think that's the number I was given, businesses functioning on the island. 1,356. I'm actually trying to find the numbers. Yeah, here we go. So as of April 2019, we had 1,356 active registered businesses on Nevis. I want you to take that in perspective. In a population with just about 13,000 people, that you could have 1,356 active registered businesses. These are businesses that as of April this year would have renewed or applied for a business license. Of those, 262 new businesses were registered in 2017, 251 new businesses in 2018, and 119 new businesses thus far for 2019. That is instructive and that is important because it tells us that our policy of putting the visions first, putting our people here on the island first, giving them an opportunity to bid on contracts and giving them the opportunity to build out Nevis, that as a result of that policy of building for us, by us, we have seen new businesses sprout, and small businesses in particular have been given an opportunity to grow. And so I'm very happy with that policy. It's a policy that we've continued. And when we look at the quality of the work, we recognize that there is no loss in quality. It wasn't always so. And I would remind members of the public that the previous government, ANRP government, had the opposite policy, where their view was every infrastructural project they had to give to a foreign firm that came in. And I'm not saying that there's no room for foreign firms to operate on the island. There are times when that will happen. As a matter of fact, I think that even my government is in the process of negotiating a particular project with a foreign firm. But I'm saying it cannot be that that is the ethos of your government, that is the policy of your government, that all work must go to foreign firms. I think it is discourteous and disrespectful to the young professionals in Nevis who go off and study and become engineers and construction technologists and all this, to be told after that you cannot head up a job and you cannot do a job. You're not good enough. I recall some infamous words that you must practice, learn how to drive. And those words will always stay with me because I think it demonstrates the difference in approach. That for us, what is important for the CCM government and the CCM party and the ethos is to put our people first and to give them an opportunity. And when that opportunity is given, as you can see in Handley's Road, as you can see in Brownhill, as you can see in Shaw's Road, as you can see in Braziers and Hamilton and Hermitage and all over the island of Nevis, when that opportunity is given, the people of Nevis will rise. And they will rise to the occasion and they will perform. The likes of young Danny Williams and others, Raoul Pemberton and others would never have got the opportunity to shine if the government did not change that policy and say that it is for them to lead. It is for them to be given the opportunity. And it is for them to lead the charge of building Nevis for us and by us. And I think that that, ladies and gentlemen, is a fundamental difference in terms of approach that has assisted us. In construction, I'm advised by the planning department that we received 202 plans and approved 187 in the year 2016. In 2017, we received 253 plans and approved 233. In 2018, we received 280 plans and approved 255. And as of April 2019, we had received 93 plans and approved 64. Now, why is that important? That's important because, again, it gives us a sense of the construction activity on the island at the moment. And I keep very close tabs because, of course, I'm always interested in knowing what is happening with the economy in Nevis. And I'm telling you, when I speak to contractors and I hear them say how busy they are, I happened to be at the Four Seasons recently, and I was pretty amazed at the number of projects going on around the golf course. Villas that had been existing are being pulled down and new villas put up. Some are undergoing massive renovation and expansion. And all around the island. I like to drive on a Sunday. I suggest that the people here do so as well. And I like to see land being cleared because it tells me that something is happening. And when you go around the island, you go in Prospect, you go in various places, you see a constant effort at construction. Private construction, I'm not even yet talking about the massive construction and expansion of the housing stock that is being done under the leadership of the Deputy Premier, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. So we have a lot that is happening, and I think these numbers bear that out, that we have had 187 plans approved in 2016, 233 approved in 2017, 255 approved in 2018, and 64 so far approved in 2019. I think that is definitely a good sign. Now a word about wages. We have just seen some numbers from Social Security, which again are encouraging. They say that in 2017, we had 367 new Social Security registrants, and that number jumped to 475 new registrants in 2018 for an increase of 29.4%. Now, why is that important? It's important because Social Security does not register individuals who are unemployed. And so if Social Security gets a new person registering, it means that that person has a job. And so this is a good indicator of the job numbers and the generation of jobs. 367 new registrants in 2017, 475 in 2018. And so we're trending in the right direction, some 29.4% up. Self-employed persons also increased. We had 57 new self-employed persons in 2017 and 67 new self-employed persons in 2018. Again, an increase of 17.4% in that category. What is interesting, however, is that the statistics reveal that overall monthly wages in Nevis was $18.54 million in 2017, and it is now $19.04 million in 2018, a 2.7% increase. What that means basically is that every month in Nevis, $19.04 million changes hands in terms of wages and remuneration. Every month. Now think about that. Think about the size of our economy, the size of our island, and that every single month you have $19.04 million circulating in terms of wages. We also learned from the statistics that the average wage is $3,200 a month. Of course, some are getting lower than that, and of course, some are getting higher than that. But the average wage is $3,200 per month. And so I feel that, again, we are moving in the right direction. And we are ticking upwards, and that is what we continue to do and continue to seek to do to ensure that our economy is moving in that direction. I want to share two other bits of information. One in relation to vehicle imports. And that I think is important because it raises its own sets of issues. I think what it does show, however, is the strength of the local economy. Nevis saw 121 vehicles imported in 2015. 121. By 2016, that had jumped to 643 vehicles in 2016. 2017, 568 vehicles. And in 2018, 459 vehicles. We've had in the last 4 years, therefore, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2015, 16, 17, and 18, those 4 years, we've had a total of 1,791 new vehicles brought into Nevis. When I say new, what I mean is vehicles that were not prior or hitherto in Nevis. 1,791. That's an average of 448 vehicles per year coming onto the island. Just today at the press conference, I think it was the reporter from Von Radio, indicating that they'd done a study some years ago that suggested that Nevis had over 9,000 vehicles. And so with an additional 1,791 in the last 4 years alone, it means that for a population of 13,500, we're talking about registrations of probably about 12,000 vehicles on the island. I think that is an interesting statistic. Of course, it is a statistic that is also cause for concern in terms of the environment, in terms of what we do with these vehicles. And I think that is a matter that we will certainly have to debate. But certainly it also shows the strength of the economy, that we're seeing these types of numbers and that people are investing in big ticket items like vehicles. Most of those vehicles have in fact been brought in by the rental companies and by individuals. And so that continues to grow. The last bit of information I'll share is in relation to our revenue. From January to March 2019, the first quarter, we saw 19.34% growth in revenue over that same period in 2018. Our budgeted target was $16.1 million, and we were able to collect $19.2 million over that period. I will leave that there so as not to get into the weeds in relation to some of the matters on the economy, but I think all the indicators, particularly with the 19 let me get the number again, a 19.4 I think percent increase, 19.34% increase in revenue for the first quarter 2019 over the first quarter 2018. It tells me again that we are moving in the right direction, not galloping, but certainly a constant movement in that right direction to build our economy. So jobs are up, revenue for the government is up over that period. We have car imports which continue to be very high. We have, of course, construction which continues to be up. We have business licenses and new businesses being formed, and that continues to be up as well. I put that on the table because I think that tonight I would invite some input on that. We constantly hear the natural neighbors of negativity who take to the airwaves on a daily basis and say nothing is happening, the place is dead, but the numbers don't support that. And I think that the numbers sometimes are what we need to look at. And these are not numbers that somebody is making up. These are very specific numbers, numbers that are coming from statistics, numbers that are coming from the Ministry of Finance, numbers that are coming from outside agencies such as Social Security. And so I think that that is important, that we continue. I am not here tonight to say that it's perfect, by no means. I'm not here to say that everybody has been included in what is happening. I understand that we need to do more. But I also want the public to understand that the numbers suggest that the island is moving in the right direction insofar as our economic development and advancement is concerned. And so we continue to press and we continue to do the very best that we can. And we will continue to do that to move our island forward and to do it together. Along the way, there'll be a lot of negativity. People will come and they will say all manner of things, and that's the nature of democracy. And we recognize that that is the role of the opposition. But at the end of the day, I want people to remain focused. And that is what I've said. Through all the chat and through all the noise, remain focused. A lot of people are out there, they're working and they're doing well. And they hasten to the chorus of nothing happening, nothing happening. And many of them will not even respond and say, well, that is not true. When I talk, however, I go into the community and I talk to people, those in the hotel sector, those who are at the Four Seasons and elsewhere. And they say group after group. They say the hotel full or near full. And they start to say, boy, you know, things are good. When I go to the restaurants and I say, how's your season? Excellent. That is what I want to hear. And so while the natural neighbors of negativity will continue to natter and continue to be negative, I am saying we must remain focused and continue to build in Nevis, brick by brick. Continue to say that something good is happening in Nevis, because I think that is what we are seeking to achieve. A few other matters. We have lost, of course, a legal giant in Herman Bobby Liburd. He was a stalwart of the NRP. He was a Speaker of the House in St. Kitts prior to independence. And he was a man who contributed to cricket, to politics, legal advisor, nominated member in the House. He has really been involved in all facets of the life and times of Nevis. He has passed away. And the government has agreed that he should have an official funeral. I would have written formally to the Prime Minister requesting that this be done, and I want to commend the Prime Minister and the Federal Cabinet for agreeing readily that Mr. Liburd be accorded the distinction of having an official funeral. I'm advised that that funeral will be at the Gingerland Methodist Church, and people ought to be in place by about midday, because of course it's a formal process, and they start, I believe it's about 12:45, but I'm encouraging folks to be there at midday and be a part of the homegoing service for Mr. Bobby Liburd, a service to celebrate his life, and his life was a life of service. He and I never saw eye to eye politically. He and I had had a couple instances when we butted heads, But I've always respected Mr. Liburd, and he has always been true to his party and to what he believed. And I think that that is important. And so we must recognize people for their contribution, whether they were green or blue, whether they were NRP or CCM, it matters little. They were Nivisions first and then Nivisions last, and they have contributed. And that is what we ought to remember. And so to his family, I extend my deep condolences again, and I wish that on Saturday the 4th, as we celebrate his life, that those of us who can attend will attend to show that we did, in fact, appreciate the long years of service of Mr. Herman Bobby Liburd. And so we encourage people to go out and be a part of that homegoing service on Saturday. We were struck by some sad news since I was last here, that Nevis recorded another homicide. A youngster by the name of Donald Bartlett was killed outside his home. I want to extend, of course, my heartfelt condolences to his family, his mom and dad, both of whom I know well. As a matter of fact, just a few days before, they buried his grandmother, Mrs. Cornelius. And so we recognize that this is a sad time for them as a family. It is also, however, a sad time for our island. We had not had an incident of gun violence in Nevis since the 1st of January. And so we were able to go through the month of January and the month of February and the month of March, and we thought we would have been able to go through the month of April as well. That was not to be. I am to use this rostrum to appeal yet again to our people, particularly our young people. I'm advised that Mr. Cornelius was a mere 20 years old. We do not know what his contribution to Nevis could have been. We do not know what he would have grown up to be. That now is a matter of history. We will never know. And I continue to say to our youngsters, wherever they are, whichever the communities in Nevis, if you're in Low Street or Craddock Road, if you're in Government Road or Hamilton, if you're in Brownhill or Bath, if you're in Gingerland and Hanley's Road or Zion, wherever you are on the island, reflect on that path that you might have engaged. Reflect on that path on which you are traveling. Reflect, as I've always said, that that is a path that leads only to the jailhouse or the cemetery. You may well be involved in certain things and you think you're getting away with it, but I say to you that it involves a path that leads to destruction for you, for your families. It leads to pain, it leads to sorrow. It leaves your mothers and your fathers mourning, your brothers and sisters, your young children to grow up without a father. Your girlfriend, your baby's mother, your wife, as the case may be, to be left a widow and alone. And I say to people that we must consider ourselves. The government is doing what it can. The police are doing what they can. The community, I think, has to do what it can. Crime is a social problem, and it requires all of society to try and solve it. But we cannot, at the end of the day, take out of someone's heart what they have in it. And so we are asking for our people to change their hearts and change their approach and change their minds. Just in St. Kitts recently, we heard at the end of a football match, one youngster stabbed another. Why? Why is there that level of anger in our community? I had a very passionate discussion with someone just recently. And that individual said that when fathers support their children, that they should be celebrated. And I said, why? It is their duty to support their children. Should they get a medal for doing that which is their duty to do? It seems to me that we have set the bar so low now. We have lowered our standards to such a degree that when people do what they're supposed to do, we want to lift them up and celebrate them. That is what a father is supposed to do. A father is supposed to support his children. If you go out there and you get picnic, your job is to support them. So when you support them, don't beat your chest and say, oh, look at me, I deserve a medal. That is what you're supposed to do. And equally in the community, people are supposed to do the right thing. I stood in the square there as we honored Sir Theodore Hobson QC and named the courthouse building after him on Sunday. A wonderful event to honor a man who had given a life of service. And I want to commend him again, Theodore Hobson QC, for having that honor bestowed on him and for the service that he has given. The longest serving member of the bar at 56 years the first Division called to the Nevis Bar in 1963. And he has served again in many capacities, in law, politics, cricket, diplomacy, and we thank Mr. Hobson for his service. But during that service, I sat, as it were, on the apron of the courthouse, and I saw a large plastic bottle, empty bottle, soda bottle, that had somehow been discarded on the street. And the bottle was there, and I counted about 5 people that passed and walked right over the bottle. Couldn't miss it, it was in the middle of the street. And then along comes this young man, and he picks up the bottle, and he puts it in the trash container. And you may think that that is, what am I talking about? That is something that is so trite. But no, it tells me that 5 people were willing to see that bottle there, which is clearly garbage strewn on the street of Charlestown, and walk over it. But here along comes this one individual who was conscientious enough to pick it up and put it in the trash receptacle where it belongs. That is the Nevis that we want. A community that when we recognize that there is a problem, we solve the problem. Not stand over the bottle and call the government and the minister and say, Minister, you know, there's a bottle down here. Send somebody to pick it up and put it in the trash. No. At the end of the day, it's our community, it's our island, it's our Nevis. And I counted, as I said, 5 people who walk right over that Coca-Cola bottle. And I said, I wonder if anybody will pick it up. And eventually this young man came along, picked it up, put it in the trash. The Nevis we want to build, ladies and gentlemen, is one where each and every member of our community makes a contribution. That we pull together. And on this issue of crime, what we need are more people like that individual who picked up that bottle. People who will say something if they see something. Parents who will speak to their children. Friends, girlfriends, who will correct the youngsters when we see them going astray. Not glorify badness, because badness leads us to Blackie or Hunkins. So I'm told that a new funeral home is being constructed. I'm not sure the name. That's where badness leads. It either leads there or it leads to 1814 St. Kitts. And I'm told the conditions there are not nice. So let us continue and look at the peace that we've had in Nevis in those last several months. That a sense of normalcy was here. Let us please protect what we have, protect our island, and protect our youngsters, even try to protect them from themselves, and not have them in a state where at age 20 their life is snuffed out, and we can never ever again realize whatever potential they had in them. And so I offer again my condolences to the family of young Donald Bartlett, and to wish that our prayers and the prayers of the multitude will comfort them in their hour of bereavement. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. It is 25 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock, and I will open the lines now to take your views. There's much more that I can say, but for now, I will open the lines and take your views at 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. Tonight, we spent a bit of time talking about the economy and giving just some snapshots of what has been happening here in construction, vehicle importation, the state of revenue, the state of jobs, and the business licenses that we've seen so far for the island of Nevis. And we continue to encourage our people to invest and continue to build our island and continue to work together to ensure that Nevis keeps moving in the right direction. All of us need to do our part. On that note, and while we wait for the phones to ring, I wanted to indicate, I ought to have done so at the formal press conference today, and it slipped me somehow, but I wanted to indicate that on Saturday, the 4th, that I lead a delegation to Taiwan. My delegation will be comprised of the Honorable Spencer Brand, Mr. Wakely Daniel, my permanent secretary, and my permanent secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ms. Kay Bass. And we will lead a delegation there. to Taiwan. This trip, as the vast majority of trips that I take, is fully funded. It's at the invitation of the government of Taiwan. And it's a working trip, it's a working visit, because we intend to try to establish certain things while we're there and to have some discussions. I'm advised that I will be afforded the opportunity to meet with the President of Taiwan, which will be a signal honor, and also, of course, with my colleague, Foreign Minister of Taiwan. And the Republic of China of Taiwan, as we know, has been a wonderful friend to St. Kitts and Nevis. We have this big project now, which is the park at Pinnis, which we hope to start very soon. And they have been instrumental in helping us to get there, and we are grateful to them for that. They've also contributed in terms of scholarships, education, healthcare, in terms of agriculture. They have contributed so much to us. And when people ask what is diplomacy about, I say that is what diplomacy is about. The ability to interact with foreign countries and to benefit from that interaction. And every young man and every young woman who has been to Taiwan and is studying, and we have quite a few from Nevis there now. Some of them might even be listening. If you are, good morning to you there. Every one of them is a product of diplomacy and the fruits of diplomacy. Let's go to the phones then and open our lines. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Honorable Premier. How your night is going?
My night is going well, thank you.
Blessed love and joy. And good night to your listeners for your radio and internet on the mark. Now, a good night to you again. And I'd like to say, I like the aspect of how you foster the dialogue towards the economical growth and establishment of the projection that you say in the pipeline and so forth. But I would like to ask, within the year that you just touched, and the 2018 and the 2019 first year physical growth is 19 million, you say, and 3.4, right?
In terms of what? Which aspect? The revenue?
The revenue.
Yeah, there's we projected 16 million and we've collected 19 or thereabouts.
Okay. This time, can you say that out of that they're coming within is the vehicle intake coming to Nevis, right?
Well, we have vehicles, different statistics that I gave, which are contributing. And as I said, I gave some statistics on the vehicles to say in the last 4 years. We have had 1,000, I think, 791 vehicles. I'm trying to give a total here. Yeah, 1,791 vehicles in the last 4 years brought into Nevis, an average of 448 per year.
Okay, and I while watching that, Mr. Premier, we have enough roads for these vehicles to consume and the aspect of the environment that we all need it right now?
Well, I think that is a legitimate question that you're asking. Of course, we have been building a lot of roads, but nevertheless, the question is whether or not we can sustain that level of vehicular traffic. And many have been asking the question, what happens, of course, when vehicles break down, when they're no longer any good and you abandon them? We have just had a program in Nevis where we partnered with a company out of California, and they came in and they crushed a lot of vehicles and shipped overseas. I'm told that we had scores of containers full of scrap metal that went overseas. The program was such a good program that St. Kitts has now followed suit, and I'm told that the same individuals are in St. Kitts doing something similar now to try and clean up St. Kitts of derelict vehicles as well. But it is a legitimate question that you've asked. What is our optimal point? And at what point do we say that the island really cannot sustain any more vehicles? We have, of course, geothermal energy that we continue to push. And if that becomes a reality in the near future, as we hope, then it would mean that power is a lot cheaper. And so we may be able to move to electric vehicles, electric scooters and electric cars, which will mean that the environmental impact and footprint is a lot less. But nevertheless, you're asking a very important question, which I think should be the subject of a national debate, because if Nevis has brought in 1,791 vehicles in the last 4 years, I could only imagine how much bigger a number St. Kitts has brought in. So I think the two islands together would probably have several thousand vehicles that have come in over the last 4 years. And you have that question of roads, the infrastructure, environmental impact, how you maintain it. In Bermuda, for example, the government there has a policy of said 1 vehicle per family. Is that something that Kittitians and divisions would consider? I believe these are matters that we would have to discuss.
But some of the matters that we have to discuss, we got to be mindful of the condition they take into it. And they have to look at physical aspect we got to look at too, Mr. Premier, because one of the farmers' statement I heard you make too is about the service. And based on what you just outlined with the caution and them things, those things don't generally bring back the revenue to us. The revenue is going out, and you know it's that. So we got to be cautious.
Well, I understand, but I mean, what do you suggest? If you have,
I will suggest to this that we got to be in more coordinate with the climate that we have around of our values and our motive that we consider as a human development and a project development, because when we look at these things that we're moving, Mr. Premier, remember, some of these things will have our capacity to really show us how stable we are working with the level that they are coming to develop and a part of our shores.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it there. Thank you for your contribution.
Another thing I'd like to say,
yes.
based into this consideration of you being the foreign minister of Foreign Affairs, I heard you outline about no initiative coming towards as a pattern towards dialogue when it comes to the Viva Razor, and I think that we as Rastafari would like to see more emphasis of the African connection coming to all regions to maintain a part of us helping to help shape and mold the African unity among I people in the African continent, because we needed it at this point in time to really understanding what the challenges are coming ahead, because we do not control the market.
All right, well, caller, let me just tell you that no government, and I mean no government, and no foreign minister has done as much in terms of Africa and bringing Singis and Nevis closer to Africa than this government. Since I've been foreign minister, we have finalized diplomatic relations with Kenya, with the Gambia, Senegal, Brunei Darussalam, Ethiopia. We have, going through my list here, Mozambique, Gabon, Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, Togo, Sao Tome and Principe, Rwanda. I didn't count them, but I think that that's quite a few countries in Africa.
Morocco.
Morocco was before me, but we also have relations with Morocco and Nigeria and others. I was just saying those that I have been instrumental in securing since I've been foreign minister. So let me say them again. Kenya, 1. The Gambia, 2. Senegal, 3. Ethiopia, 4. Mozambique, 5. Gabon, 6. Eswatini, 7. Togo, 8. Sao Tome and Principe, 9. Rwanda, 10. And then in terms of you and I being able to travel without a visa, I've been able in my tenure to negotiate visa arrangements, visa-free arrangements with Sierra Leone, 1, Kenya, 2, Zambia, 3, Rwanda, 4, the Gambia, 5, Ghana, 6, although Ghana is limited to only diplomatic and official passports at this point, and Togo, 7. So I hear you. I welcome what you're saying, but I believe as foreign minister, the record would show that I have been the one who has worked hardest, and this government has worked hardest, to bring a closer relationship with our brothers and sisters in Africa.
Give thanks for the contribution,
right. Good.
And I hope that your night goes safe.
Thank you very much.
May the protection of the ancestors and the Almighty bless you wisely. And remember, there's an invitation out for you for the 25th of May.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, and blessings to you as well. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yeah, good evening, Andy Mac.
Good evening, my dear. How are you?
Yes, good. And what about you?
I am well, thank you.
Miss Pat, she's a what, so you know, because her mother from Nevis, I think.
Yeah, I know. She has strong Nevis connections.
Yes, and she goes to school, but older than her.
Ah.
And what I'm talking about now, I understand that the nurses them, boys have to use the same boat, what about toys, and they're working for 13 hours non-stop. But I think they're supposed to get a little money, more on the money. And I want to know that how they could get that kind of work their 13 hours when they got the children them and so to look after so. So when they're working them kind of hours, extra money for them. And I want to know about the rate and this money they're asking about.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. The issue about the nurses, I think that it's a question that has been discussed with the nurses, is what I'm advised. and that they're trying this system in St. Kitts where they work various shift systems. They're trying to get the optimum, an optimal situation. And so I think that's a matter for that discussion and the matron and the nurses and the government to continue that discussion. In relation to Liat, I think we would all have heard the news that the federal government has decided to make $1 million available to Liat, and then to look as well at the issue of some type of minimum revenue guarantee. It has sparked a tremendous debate in the country as to whether we should be supporting Liat, and many have argued that Liat should be allowed to die. Many have attacked Antigua, saying Antigua is getting all the benefit. But I sometimes don't engage in that discussion because I think a lot of times there's more heat than light, more emotion. But if we approach things logically, I want everyone in St. Kitts and Nevis to consider what life in the Caribbean would be like without Liat. Just think for the moment. If you're here and you're working at the Central Bank and you're from Grenada or St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Dominica, Antigua, what would your life be like without Liat? How do you get home to see family and friends? You want to go carnival in St. Vincent or Grenada? You want to play Spice Mass? You want to go to Crop Over, Kadooman? How do you do that without a Liat? And what guarantee do we have that if Liat were to fail, that something else would emerge? You all remember a carrier called Caribbean Star? It came here and it was a big thing. Where is it today? So I feel that we need sometimes to soberly assess these things. I'm not suggesting that Liat gives us the optimum, or that Liat is the best and our only option. But Liat is a bird in the hand. And the question is, can we work with that bird in the hand to make it better? Or do we allow it to fail and then deal with the consequences of that fail? And I think that's a very real debate that one must have. Not all the emotionalism about where employees are and all that. That is neither here nor there. If the airline has employees, it must have employees. And if it's based in Antigua and in Barbados, naturally those are the two countries that will have the largest number of employees. But the question of what Liat does for the region, how do you connect this region? And will anybody else? I contemplated, I said to my wife tonight, I said, you realize that there's no Liat. For us to go to Grenada to see your family, we have to go to Miami to come back to Grenada. Is that what we want? So we must decide. Let's go back to the phones. 10 minutes to the hour of 9. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Okay, we've lost that caller. Caller, please call back in. Let's try this one. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, the Honorable Mark Brantley.
Good evening to you.
And good evening to the listening public home and abroad. Carl Brown here.
How you doing, brother?
Well, I'm not doing too bad for my age, sir.
Good, man.
Well, Honorable Mark Brantley,
yes.
I am coming with the Liat issue. And, you know, I strongly against projecting money into Liat. And I'll tell you my reason, and you will agree with some of my reasons. Now, Honorable Mark Brantley, we know that Liat, we have been pumping millions into Liat over the years. And under directors, board, management, and we are not seeing any results. Yes, Liat is boasting of being 60 years old, and they are boasting of very little crash. We understand there was one little crash and one little incident over the years. But here the thing, Honorable Minister, is that the wastage, the continuous can come up with producing 1 ounce of profit, while smaller airlines like Seaborn and other airlines, right, is producing up to December gone. 2 of those small airlines recorded and publicly announced that they make $8 million profit. Yes, they are doing less routes. Yes, the planes are smaller. But if they can do less routes, the planes are smaller, and they can produce a profit of 8 million plus, it means that their management and performance have to be somewhat of good coordination. And we are having Liat, which they bought more planes, bigger planes, and all kind of thing a few years ago. We inject money continuously into them, and we are not seeing the results.
Caller,
Now, here's what
what's the
we're
money?
saying,
Caller, saying something does not make it right. What is the money that Sinkis and Nevis has continually injected into Leon?
Well, you hear now our Prime Minister and the Financial Secretary, Ms. Hazel, Leat has brought in two delegations the past several weeks now, meet with the federal government. And of recent, just Saturday, they have agreed to inject some money into Leat.
Yes, but I'm saying that you should not say that there's been a continual injection because that is not accurate. The Sinkis Nevis government is
That is true, Honorable, because I have urged the former Prime Minister continuously many years ago to stop injecting money into Leat, and he did follow my advice.
Well, I don't know if he followed your advice or that we were never injecting any money into Leat. We're not a shareholder of Leat, and as far as I'm aware, the federal government has not injected any money in Leat until now. That Leat is at a crisis.
Now.
Until now.
Yes,
We've
I
agreed.
agree to that. And as I said, the former government used to inject money into it, and he's on record stating that he would not put any more money into Leat, and he did not.
Okay, well, as I said, I'm not aware of that, but go ahead. Yes.
If he slip it through without our knowledge, we will find out. Now, my thing is, sir, my complaint is, and many taxpayers throughout the Caribbean, argument is, show us the books, do an audit report of the last several years on the several boards and directors, and let us see where the wastage and mismanagement is going. Wrong. But none of the prime ministers, none of the government is saying that. All of them is saying, let us put some money to help keep Leat in the air. But you all must agree that the taxpayers going to want something too. And the taxpayers are saying, let us see the books and hear an idea what I'm saying. Some of these governments now have changed their mind over the last several days because you have heard the comments. Right? And every 2 days they change the comments. They're now agreeing that they will put some preliminary, using the word, injection of money into Leat. But hear what we are saying. We cannot give them that money on this board, this management, know that the taxpayers, and well, not the taxpayers, well, you all had agreed to put some money into without the taxpayers understanding or consultation or nudging of doing that. Okay, you all are doing that. Hear what we are saying. These islands which are putting money into Leat, let us have 2 members on the board of directors or on a panel, one from Sinkit, one from Nevis, and the other countries put up the thing, and we're going to call that a watchdog committee to see how Leat going to spend and going to maneuver our money. And I don't think anything is wrong with that we, the taxpayers of the Caribbean, is calling for.
Okay.
Nobody wants to say, do an audit report or show the books to the taxpayers. And I think it is wrong, and I will grant me.
Okay. All right. I think you've made your point quite eloquently. And we'll move on to the next caller. Let's see who's there. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Yes, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. I wasn't able to see your press conference, so forgive me if I ask questions that you addressed today. First of all, where are you with the investigation of the RLB alleged breach of security incident? I know you look at these things seriously, and so can you say that you will be reporting the findings to the public in short order? Or
the matter, what I can tell you is that the matter, the allegations that you speak of are under review. That is the extent of what I can tell you at this point in time.
Okay, but we will be hearing a result one way or the other.
What I can tell you at this point in time is that the matter is under review. Okay. And I cannot go any further than that. than to indicate that to you publicly, as I've said in a previous program.
Okay. Secondly, on the Liat issue, yes, the Prime Minister has, quite rightly, in my opinion at least, decided to support Liat after much hemming and hawing and dithering on his part. Did you have an input in the decision, and have you lobbied for the reintroduction of Liat services by any chance, or have you given up on that route? And by the way, how are the plans for the redevelopment of the Van Samry progressing? Is it progressing according to the benchmark?
The decision in relation to Liat was a cabinet decision. And I think all cabinet members would have had an input because, as you know, decisions of cabinet are decisions that bind the entire cabinet and all the members thereof.
Okay.
In relation to the airport in Nevis, I would hope that we would have an update on that very shortly. I'm advised that there is a date that is upcoming. I believe it is as early as next week that the developers should be producing a report. And once we have that, we'll be able to come to the public and give some more information. So I'll be in a much better position to speak to that in about a week's time.
Okay. And a question pertaining to concerns raised by the opposition in Nevis. I mean, I know you might be dismissive of what they say, but one of the points they made was that diplomacy is not just about scholarships and photo ops. It has as much to do with marketing the country and attracting investment. One of the glaring failures of the government, both federal and NIA, is its inability to continue the momentum of the past insofar as foreign direct investment is concerned. There are no new big ventures to show off. So I would be interested in hearing your response to this. And the final question is about that OAS report on good governance. Have you still not been apprised of it?
No, someone brought it to my attention. I've really not had the time to look at it. I do intend to do it. I have a long trip that's coming up. It will afford me some time to do some reading, and I do intend to look at it, but I have not yet done so.
Okay, all right. Okay then, those are the questions.
Good. Thank you very much. In relation to diplomacy, I think that people have whatever ideas they have. My sense is that those who are doing the talking, one of them at least, was the chief diplomat for St. Kitts and Nevis. I would challenge him to ask what he brought when he was chief diplomat. Because as far as I'm aware, he brought nothing. And the others who are talking about diplomacy, I don't know where people get the idea that you're out there as a diplomat and it's about bringing investment. I am not out there as a diplomat meeting with investors. When I go as a diplomat, I meet usually with governments and other diplomats. And so unless it's a government project, and there have been a number of those. Right now we've concluded an arrangement with the United Arab Emirates, for example, to do a desalination plant in Nevis and a desalination plant in St. Kitts. We've concluded numerous and various other arrangements. The Taiwanese were helping us with the park project. The Taiwanese who helped us with so much equipment for agriculture. The Japanese who have helped us with millions of dollars worth of equipment for disaster preparedness. That's what diplomacy does. So people may say it's not about scholarships, but most of those who are talking that it's not about scholarships, they already benefited from scholarships and got their education. So my job, as someone who also benefited from scholarships and got an education, is to try to make that same pathway available to our youngsters. Because too many of our youngsters simply don't have the ability, their parents don't have the money. And many of them go to Development Bank and National Bank and the other banks and put themselves in serious debt to try and get a tertiary education. When they come back, they're paying debt for 10 and 15 years. So if I'm in a position where I can engage with foreign governments and say to foreign governments, listen, we have our young people who want to be educated. You have schools and universities. You want our support in various organizations and international forums. We are also asking you for your support to help us build our human capacity. What is in that to criticize? You don't seem to realize, caller, that the opposition in Nevis, or the remnants of it, because I don't know which of the opposition, there are several different factions to it. But the opposition in Nevis, they're talking because that's all they have to do. I'm not even sure that some of them have a job. So they're talking because that's what they're doing. But at the end of the day, you and others must ask them, what is their record? And I will tell you that one of them was the foreign minister. In fact, he was the foreign minister immediately before me. I would put my record as foreign minister up against his any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Because some people are talking, I'm doing. Things are happening in the country. Our passport is not the most powerful in the OECS. Why? Because we're able to negotiate all these visa waiver arrangements to add to what has been done. I just listed the closeness that we've tried to develop with Africa under my watch and under the mandate given to me by the cabinet of this unity government. So when I hear this chatter, I just dismiss it because that is what it is, chatter. And these fellows continue to talk. Everything is an issue, but they offer no solutions. And they have not yet offered an apology to the people of Nevis for their own conduct while they were in office. Let's go back to the phones. 4 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, caller, please try again. 869, let's try this call then. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Blessed evening, my beloved brother, and greetings in the name of the ancestor, the African ancestor. This is African Liberation Month, my brother. And let me say, before I move on, brother, I must congratulate you, for your magnificent work you have doing when it comes to the African connection and our people in St. Kitts Nevis, brother. But in saying that, I know money is kind of tight, but I want to see at least 2 embassies, brother, on the African continent. One in West Africa that will serve, I would prefer Ghana, because Ghana is more stable than Nigeria. You know the kind of madness that go on in Nigeria. I like to see one in Ghana for West Africa and Central Africa, one in Ethiopia or South Africa for the rest of Africa, brother. I like to see that, happen. And the money is tight, but we got to do what we got to do, brother. But then let me ask you, do we have any student exchange, Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and the any country on the African continent that we have diplomatic relationships with?
We do not have any student exchanges, no. But this again is something that we're seeking to pursue. Not just student exchanges, but scholarships and also cultural exchanges.
I understand.
In relation to embassies, I believe that we have announced in the past, and it must now become a knowledge, that the OECS is opening an embassy in North Africa, in Morocco, and that embassy will actually be headed by a Kittitian, national of St. Kitts and Nevis. We are also looking to open an embassy in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and that again will be a joint OECS mission. That is what I understand the OECS has agreed to do. I believe the office in Morocco is already up and running and should be fully staffed very shortly. So we are making some progress in that regard, but I agree with you that more needs to be done. But the 2 areas were North Africa and Ethiopia in Addis Ababa, because that is, of course, where the African Union is based, and we wanted to be close to the African Union. All right?
Yes, but in closing, but I support Liat 100%. Liat must not die. But in saying that, we get to do a lot of house cleaning in that organization, brother. And the governments got to stop charging exorbitant landing fees. That's what killing Liat too, beloved brother. But we must maintain Liat. Liat should never die, my beloved brother. Brother, thanks in hearing me, and keep up the great works, brother. Especially when it comes to the African continent, and we got to make more connection, especially with our young people, both on the African continent and the diaspora. But I'm talking in reference to St. Kitts Nevis, beloved brother. Thanks again. Keep up the great work. Pan-Africanism our purse. Well, no, brother. Have a blessed evening.
All right. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for your call. We haven't heard your voice in a while, and we'd like to hear from you. So thank you for calling. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
I'd like to make a comment about the dramatic production that was held last weekend.
Yes.
I was very disappointed with the turnout, and I kind of felt embarrassed for Nevis. I know that you were promoting the use of NEPAC, and we brought that lovely show here, and it was so much to learn from it, and I was disappointed that more Nevisians didn't attend. maybe next time we can give, or when they have a review, they can find out why we don't get the support for these kinds of things that we should get. And maybe next time we can maybe hand out maybe 10 or so tickets to some of the college students or the high school students that are interested in acting and the arts, so that at least they can come out and view what others around the Caribbean are doing. But mainly I wanted to make the comment because I know that last week you were promoting the show, and I felt disappointed. I don't know how you felt about the turnout. I listen off here.
All right, well, thank you. The turnout was disappointing. I think there's no argument there. As to what that means, I really don't know. People now have multiple choices for entertainment, and some will, like yourself and myself, perhaps, would want the theater to flourish, and we go there. Others may not want that and go elsewhere. We have a small population, and that is always a difficulty, that when things are happening, people make that determination. I think that what we need to do is to continue our efforts, continue to promote, continue to use NEPAC for its purpose, and that is to become a center for arts and theater on the island. And I believe that we will get there. We've had other productions, like when we did Shakespeare here, there was an overflow audience. We had Oliver recently, and I'm told by those who did the show that they should have done 2 shows in Nevis because it was so packed. So the truth is, we've had some hits and misses. We just need to continue to work, and all of those, like yourself and others interested in theater, I think need to engage and promote it. And I think that is the best that I can say in the circumstances. But I agree with you, the turnout wasn't as good as we would have hoped, and I think that NEPAC certainly had room for at least another 2 or 250 people. So there was room there for people, and people just did not come out. I thought that the production was quite good, and perhaps we just need to continue to tweak what we are offering and to promote what we are offering, and as you said, to engage the students and engage everybody else who might be interested in the arts and theater. Let's go back to the phones at 10 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Okay, looks like we've missed that call. Callers, please be patient with us. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. If you're just tuned in, you're listening to On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and we're going live on TV and on radio. We are on YouTube, we are on Facebook Live, so we're not actually on TV. I would suggest we are video streaming, live streaming, and of course, we're on the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis, 860 on your AM dial, or www.vonradio.com. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Lost that caller, let's try this one. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night to the Honorable Mark.
Yes, good evening to you.
Yes, Mark. Mark, to be truthful, right? I hear you say, what year you say Mr. Hobson joined the bar in Nevis?
1963.
I was only 2 years. And when I listened to the opposition down here on the next radio station saying that shouldn't be the time to where Mr. Hobson name off the courts and all those things. You know, Mark, let me tell you something. Those guys is opposition, but I don't think they're going the right way. They're just saying things because they want to come on the radio and say something. I don't know. I know Mr. Hobson served in different parts in the courts, St. Kitts and Nevis, represent Nevis and St. Kitts outside and all, and different organizations in the OECS. And to say that, I believe that is a slap in the people of Nevis' face as an opposition. Mr. Hobson was a man supposed to respect. And look, Mr. Skerritt, I hear big up Mr. Skerritt when Mr. Skerritt get appointed the chairman for the West.
But of course, that's important that we do that. Mr. Skerritt is a national of St. Kitts and Nevis. Whatever his politics might be, Herman Liebert was a chairman of the NRP. Yeah. I am not going to come here tonight and try to denigrate in any way Mr. Liebert. Mr. Liebert made his contribution. He chose to make it with the NRP, but that is the difficulty that we have in the country, that some can't seem to look beyond the politics.
Yeah, Mr. Hopkins, I tell you plain, I always meet that man, and sometimes I go and interact with him on Nevis, and I'm so glad to hear that when I was a little boy, as a child still, that man take the bar and Mr. Hopkins around still, you know? serving the people of the Federation in the capacity of what he's doing as a lawyer. You understand? So we got to respect that. And they're supposed to respect that too. So not come on and talk those negative things that they don't think that was the time to come and then in the courts are fine.
Listen, caller, I am not concerned with the noisemakers. You understand me? Because those who are making the noise have not contributed a thing to Nevis. Not one single thing.
And Mark, before
Right?
you is the Foreign Affairs Minister, and what the Caribbean can do for late, I will like the Caribbean government to do for late, because late has served the Caribbean for a very long time, 60-something years. And I believe that they could get something work out if they move it from Antigua and bring it in the next country, even sink it. Because I believe that something wrong with Antigua and up there with the late situation. I do not believe poor management. I believe poor management, and I believe they put in Barbados, sink it to any other country. I believe that they'll get things work out. Okay, then, Mark.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know the location of where Leatis has anything to do with poor management. You could have poor management anywhere in the world. But certainly the Leat issue is a debatable issue. It's one that is creating a lot of discussion, as it should be. And I support the decision to support Leat. I think that Leat is an important institution for regional integration. It is not just an airline. It is an institution of regional integration, particularly in the sub-region, the OECS. And I really do not see how the OECS would function without Leat. Let's go back to the phones. 9:15. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
How are you?
I am well, thank you.
That gentleman is 100% right. He just spoke. Even today, I could hear them criticizing the unity government about the Banassi High School. About 4 years, it took them and it hadn't started yet. Children going to lose, we're going to lose 2 generations of, but they still didn't mention the amount of money they spent to build a temporary school. They didn't mention that. But they're going to still talk about repairing the old house. I mean, what is wrong? You think anybody, any mother, any parent, going to forsake a new for all? I mean, it just, every time they chat stupidness, they lose a number of supporters. I don't understand them. And Mr. Bradley, I want to say something about Leah. It's bad management, you know. I was working overseas in a hotel. Listen carefully. I was working in a hotel overseas. And on a Sunday night, I'm not saying every Sunday night. On a Sunday night, they would unload their passengers and put them up in the hotel that I was living in. I was working in. Now, they have to pay the taxi to bring them to the hotel. They have to find food for them. Then the next morning, the taxi drivers have to come pick them up again, take them back to the airport. I mean, can't they change the schedule? I mean, that is, and Bali, they don't have any money. Why can't they just, it's bad management and wastage. I agree with Carl 100%. Carl was right. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't help them out, but make sure they manage the thing right. I mean, that's a wastage of money right there. We're going to change the schedule. And one more thing, and Venezuela, Mr. Bandry. Why is America so anxious to use military force in Venezuela when they're propping up Saudi Arabia, bombing schools, hospitals, and churches, buses with children every day? And just because Saudi Arabia buying their military equipment, they don't want to do nothing about it. Look what they did with that man.
Yeah, Mr. Khashoggi.
And nobody could find him, and yet nobody saying nothing. But now they want to, and telling Russia to stay out. And they are in. They want to interfere, but Russia mustn't interfere. I don't understand these people. They just turn people mind against them because they know everything. They should know everything. They're always right, and they're causing so much confusion. Look what they do to Libya. Gaddafi opened Libya for black Africans to come in and make a living. And after they overthrew him, the same people who was living there for years, they was arrested, locked up, the people, they call them mercenaries, and they were living there for years. I mean, I don't understand why they, look how the destruction of Iraq. the 19 pilots that been in the States, they came from Saudi Arabia. They were Saudi Arabians, but they were living the trade in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And they went in Afghanistan, they went in Iraq, and Saudi Arabia still there. And the pilots came from there. Good night, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I think diplomacy is difficult, caller. Countries have their own personal interests, as you know, national interests. And it creates difficulty sometimes. We are trying to understand how you can support Saudi Arabia but condemn Venezuela. This is the nature of things. And a lot of times it's economic and other interests, strategic interests of various kinds, defense interests, security. So they have various interests, and I think that we could have an entire show, in fact an entire week of debate in relation to that. But we also know that in this world, power matters, and powerful countries will operate in a particular way that smaller and more vulnerable countries like our own cannot, and that is why we have to be so nimble and so careful in terms of our own diplomacy that we don't derail our development. Let's go back to the phones. It's 20 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, that caller isn't there. Callers, we ask again for your patience. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. So for those who are out there claiming that they're criticizing the decision to name the courthouse building after Mr. Hobson, I said to you that he is the most fitting individual alive today that we could have named that courthouse after. He has served the longest at 56 years. He was the first Nevision called to the bar in Nevis in 1963. He has served in cricket. In fact, many don't know that he was the first Nevision cricketer to try out for the West Indies team. He did not make it at trials in Guyana. He did not get through. And that designation and that distinction later went to El Comido Willett, another hero here. But Mr. Hobson has done his part. He worked as Deputy High Commissioner, I think it's in Nevis in London. He has been involved in our political life as a candidate. He had his own party at one point. He was involved with the CCM at one point. And the criticism I'm hearing of the man is, oh, he was in CCM. But that is a disqualifying factor that he was in CCM. The way Nevis is going now, therefore, we wouldn't be able to honor anybody because the whole of Nevis now is CCM. I mean, NRP has died. That is the reality. Mr. Parry was the last standing vestige of what the NRP represented. These sanctimonious vagabonds who now have hold of the NRP, they don't reflect the principles of that party, the founding fathers of Ivor Stevens and Simeon Daniel. They don't reflect that. Herman Leibert, who will be buried on Saturday, and God bless his soul, I am sure that even he would not recognize these fellows. The truth is that we have some fellows now, and they have no direction. They have no sense of purpose because they have no compass that guides them. So all they do is you hear tomorrow that the sun set earlier than usual, they jump on the radio and they start to cuss. Mark Brantley make the sun set. With all this rain coming from the Nevis, Mark Brantley making the place rain, the place wet every day because of heat. That is the nonsense that they're engaged in. And then I continue to say to our people, they will come to you now. They will come. An election will come. And when they come, talk to them about their record. That is what I'm interested in. Talk to them about their record. Ask them when you were there, how much land you and your family get. When you were there, how much house you and your family get. When you were there, what did you do for others? We know what you did for yourself. Ask them the hard questions. Because I don't understand the same old khaki pants coming. What is it they're coming to offer? Other than criticism and the constant cacophony of negativity. That is what they engage in. What is it they're offering? So every decision that is taken, they go, oh, this. We announced that we want to do something with the airport to expand. Oh, we give the airport to John L. Powell. Any sensible individual can believe that we gave an airport to John L. Powell. But that is the kind of rhetoric. I post a picture of my wife shopping in New York. Oh, where she get money from to shop. I can't even use the language that comes to my mind here because on Von Radio only the best will do. Where she get money to shop? She has her own business. What does that say? This type of misogynistic approach that what a woman needs a man to give her money to shop? That is what the ethos of the leadership of the NRP or the new NRP or whatever they're calling themselves now is. I read an exchange on social media the other day, and there's a big debate among them, and I like when they're debating among themselves. And the big debate was who represents NRP. Some are saying that they represent the ideals of the NRP, and these rascals are not the true reflection of the NRP. I really don't know. All I will say to you out there, if you want a party that is principled, a party that has had principled leadership over the last 3 decades, a party that is committed to the people of Nevis and put people first, a party that has as its mantra, people matter most, then come home to the Concerned Citizens Movement. That's all I have to say, because our record speaks for itself. That under Vance Amri, and right now it is early days yet for me, but I want to feel I'm making my mark. And that is what we stand for. And I stand ready today to stand against anybody of these so-called new NRP, these sanctimonious vagabonds. Stand next to them and we do the comparison. Because not one of them has offered you anything. And all of them are asking you to give them the opportunity so they can rape and pillage. Because they have nothing to offer. And we've seen them at work, and we therefore can say with some conviction that they have nothing to offer the people of Nevis. Let's go back to the phones. 25 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, that caller isn't there. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. And so if I sound a little passionate, it's because sometimes I am. I came here tonight, I say I'm going to be cool and calm. I'm going to share some information and some data. But when I hear the constant negativity, the drumbeat, everything that goes wrong on the island, that is what they latch on to, because somehow they feel that it gives them an opportunity. I'm going to say here tonight, 1st of May. Let me look into the camera. 1st of May, 2019, 9:25 p.m. in the year of our Lord, that the NRP in its current formulation does not stand an electoral chance in the island of Nevis. I'm saying so. They don't stand a chance. You can't tell me that somebody who can't win a seat is now leading a party. We're leading them to, other than defeat. Tell me. So that is why I continue to say to people, when you hear the constant noise, the noise, drown out the noise. You can never get up the hill if you kick at every barking dog. Drown out the noise. People have elected me as the Premier of Nevis to do what? To lead. And I will lead. And I will report to people, and I will get the buy-in of the public because I'm transparent and open with them. But you don't come and try to denigrate people like Mr. Hobson. And I'm not any agent for or spokesperson for Mr. Hobson. He's a Queen's Counsel, I am not. It therefore means that he can speak for himself. But let us stop this notion of denigrating our people purely for politics. Because the man has contributed, and his contribution has been recognized. And for all of you in the NRP who vex because the man's name is on the courthouse, well, let me encourage you all not to do anything to the courthouse. We understand that there might be a habit out there of doing things to public buildings. Let's not do anything to the courthouse. Let's go back to the phones. Take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Caller, please be patient. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700 if you want to be a part of the show. Let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello?
You're on the air.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Brunswick.
Good evening to you.
How are you doing? This is Rafa.
How are you, brother?
I want to say, I'm good, man. I want to say personal congratulations to Mr. Hobson and also to you guys, the NIA, to make such a wonderful decision on naming the quotas of him. And Mr. Hobson, I hope you're listening. From the bottom of my heart, congratulations for me and my family and all of us here in Baltimore. There is some older heads who know you well, the Springits. They also send their congratulations and I wish you go from strength to strength. All right, man.
Rafa, before you go,
Uh-huh.
what do you
Yeah.
say to those who are out there seeking to denigrate Mr. Hobson?
Well, I would say to them, you just got to take a page out of Mr. Hobson's book. If you want to be in the know, in the running,
Mhm.
you got to take something, a quote from Weber, only the best will do.
Mhm.
And Mr. Hobson was one of the best, you know. And also, I could use the words of the Deputy Governor General. Somebody was watching him,
Excellent.
you know.
All right, my brother.
So, yeah, man.
Thank you very much. God bless you and the family.
Yeah, everybody is good, man. I clean up my grill today.
You're getting ready.
I get it ready.
All right, my brother. All right, good, good.
Okay, bro.
Okay, good. It is just about half an hour past. We have half an hour left. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Greetings, Honorable Premier.
Greetings to you again. I'm well. Things are going well.
I give thanks and good blessed night to your fellow listeners and radios and internet service people hearing you via radio and internet. Good night. And we just like to follow up on something the elder in Brother Nabo said to UDI pertaining on the aspect of visa waiver and all other things considered to the movement in Africa and an embassy setting up. And I heard you make some response to the OEC is looking to have this embassy established in Ethiopia.
Yeah, we have not yet done so, but we plan to do so.
Looking to have it. Well, let me say this here in a consideration, please. If Mr. Gonzal have the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a part of that negotiation stalemate, I would like to say we need to let him know that in the time he traveled from St. Vincent to go to Ethiopia with a few of Rastafari brethren and sisters and engage in a visa waiver agreement with the Ethiopian government and that signed in Ethiopia, and when he returned back to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he did not put his signature to make it be officially a part of this visa waiver agreement. So please, I'm saying this here, Mr. Premier, I would like to see that this aspect really come to reality, because now our African brothers and sisters in the diaspora and in the continent of Africa and a whole need to realize we need to share views and ideas to one another, because right now we utilize our strength in numbers, as I said earlier already, because you cannot continue pertaining to feel like we have the market stable when we know you stated all up in your presentation about service provider. So we're ready to make a better angle of avenue of development if we have innovation and creativity around our young generation, because those are the mantras we have to hold on to make sure to build a better future for the next generation to come. Thanks for that, Mr.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Brother Mark?
Yes, you're on the mark.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is DuPont. I'm reporting that the meeting went down well between me and the gentleman and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice. Better than I thought. Very respectful. And we will be friends, I will think, for life.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go to the gentleman who got the honor in Nevis. You know, the thing I really love about this man from all the years I've known him, his humility. Humble, nice, cool. When I lie on my bed a couple evenings ago, look at ZIZ News, and I realized that you all did such a thing for that man, I was so pleased. Congratulations to him, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your call. I truly appreciate it. And I'm happy that you had a good lunch and that you were able to reason. That is what we need to do. Even sometimes people with different viewpoints, to be able to reason together. And that is what I try to do on this show, to provide a platform, a framework, if you will, for our people to talk to each other in a respectful way. Do we have anybody else that's holding for the moment? No. If you want to be in on the show, it's 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Now, through the magic of the internet, People listen to the show far and wide. And I want to just continue to wish everyone listening all the very best and say good evening to them wherever they are. I am very heartened by the support that this show has got over the past 13 years. And we will continue as long as God grants us life and Daniel Brantley is prepared to pay the bill, that we will continue to have this show on air. It's a good show. It's a show that allows varying shades of public opinion. It is a show where we encourage debate and discussion. And I want that to continue. And to say to those who are out there that certainly this is what we want to do. Today, at my press conference, there was what I may call a moment of levity. Because, of course, one of the members of the press, Mr. Hanley, young Mr. Bijan Hanley, is also a candidate for the NRP, we are told, in the constituency of Nevis 10, that is the proud people of Gingerland. And however he got to that position, he's in that position, that's what we are told. But it is very obvious, I think, to onlookers that the cabal that now controls the NRP has no use for this youngster, that they have excluded him from everything. And so today, I believe he came as a member of the press, but he sought to use the press conference as an opportunity for him to get on a political soapbox and to make a political speech. And I really had to remind him that it is not for me as the Premier of Nevis, through my press conference, to provide him with a forum, and that since his party is going on radio every week, he should ask them to include him. I find it exceedingly odd that the party continues to have these discussions and the young man is excluded. Why they're doing that, I'm not sure. Why they're treating someone who is supposedly part of their team in that fashion, I don't know. It is certainly not the way that the CCM operates, but certainly it appears that that is the way that this new NRP, with this new configuration, is operating. And I think it sends a message, because if they're going to treat their own like that, how are they going to treat you? Ask yourself. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Premier.
Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, sir. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you for calling.
I've been listening to your program for the evening in respect to Liet and the need to support Liet. Conceptually, yes, it's a good idea, but the thing is that the Liet management need to prove themselves worthy of our support. And I know it was with good reason that some time ago St. Kitts removed their set out their shares and took their money back. But the thing is that Liet, when it is a regional carrier, it has only operated for the benefits solely of Antigua. And that has to change. I've been traveling in Liet for the last 30 years. And I'll tell you, when you go to Antigua and there is a problem with any southbound flight, you look at all the people who are going northbound, and they will take all the planes and send them south and ignore the passengers who are traveling north. Now, I would leave St. Croix in the morning at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock sometimes, and you get to St. Kitts at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. That is utter rubbish, because we have to have this long layover in Antigua. Mm-hmm. And then you get hijacked in Antigua where you have to pay $20 for a simple turkey sandwich. I mean, that's almost like that's high tech scalping. Mm-hmm. You know, and well, we need to sit down and be honest with our CARICOM or OCS brothers and tell them, hey, you have to change your ways. If you want us, then your people must be more service-oriented. And for some reason, the people in Antigua, especially the management, they need to become more service-oriented. Mm-hmm. I could remember some years ago, my wife traveled from St. Croix to St. Kitts, and the plane was grounded in St. Martin for several hours, and the director of flight operation in Antigua was not even aware that one of his planes was underground in St. Martin for several hours, and because they hadn't paid some vendor and somebody ground the plane. that kind of management attitude has to change. And I'm simply saying, let them first change their ways and then come back and ask us for support. But there must be a change. Thank you very much for the time, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for calling in and being a first-time caller. What I will say to you is that my understanding is that the funding is part of what is necessary. But I think they've committed, the staff, the pilots have committed to a salary cut. They have committed to certain changes in management. So I'm hopeful that we will get the LIAT that I think the Caribbean is asking for. A LIAT that is well run, that is lean, and a LIAT that provides the necessary service. But Grenada has committed some money, St. Kitts has committed some money. Certainly the shareholder countries of St. Vincent, Dominica, Barbados, and Antigua, I believe, have committed. And so the question is, how do we get LIAT to be what we need it to be? And I think that that is the issue, and that is what is concerning the debate. But I think that most seem to be agreed that the LIAT, the service of LIAT, is important, because LIAT is an important mechanism for regional integration. Let's go back to the phones. We have about 20 minutes left. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Hey, good evening, Honorable Mark Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Again.
Yes.
I would like to say a high note of praise and congratulations to Mr. Hobson for the hard work and contribution he has made to the Federation and the world over, because he would not have represented St. Kitts and Nevis nationals. He would have represented nationals from the diaspora and all over. So we must say high note of praise and congratulations, and to the organizing committee and to the government of Nevis, led by the CCM and led by you, to honor and recognize a stalwart that have made significant, meaningful, and worthwhile contribution to the country of Nevis. And it is duly honored that Mr. Hobson have gotten that award and that name on the courthouse. They did it here a few years ago well in St. Kitts here to honor Sir Lee Llewellyn Moore, the late Sir Lee Llewellyn Moore, and name the courthouse after it. And it is time, Mr. Brantley, that lots of these symbols, streets, and things in the country of Nevis and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, I mean, these are names after people that we don't even know. And our people have been making contribution after contribution, doing the things that is due to the success and development of their country and their nation. And they duly need to be honored. And it is good that under several governments that a number of nationals have been honored and have been cherished, and to show that we respect and honor their contribution that they have made to the Federation and to the country of St. Kitts and Nevis. So I say high note of praise and congratulations to you and the CCM. So
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. I think you've put it very eloquently, Carl, in terms of what we're trying to do. I love the idea that you mentioned about streets and monuments, because I think that we need to rename and remake our island in our own image. And you will see a lot more of that happening here in Nevis. We have a lot more individuals, I think, who have contributed much and who ought properly to be honored. Just today we had a discussion in my press conference about perhaps putting a committee together to deal with that specifically. But even in the communities, in the new communities that are being built out, can we do communities? We have a big community in Cherry Garden, for example. We've had the proposal come from time to time to do street naming, because you can get lost in those communities. So far from honoring people, just a question of where are you? You know, what street do you take? And, you know, you still get here the directions, but you're going to see a big mango tree, turn left there. And when you go down the road, you see some banana thing there, turn right. And it's the house next to the house that paint red. That's the kind of directions you get, because we don't have streets and the numbering and all of that. So we have a lot of work to do. But going back to your big point, I think, yes, that we need to do more under that. rubric of honoring people who have contributed and continue to contribute. Can we go back to the phones, please? Yes, I believe there's someone calling. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you, my brother.
Yes, Sadio. I am just calling to give my sympathy to Mr. Herman Sniber's family and friends, and also saying congratulations to Mr. Hobson on the naming of the courthouse after him. It's well deserved. I've known Mr. Hobson for many, many years, and he is deserving of that honor. And, I've heard some calls, and, the idea is, nothing happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. And in the United States, or New York especially, when you hear people talk, it's about Jamaica and St. Kitts Nevis. Jamaica and St. Kitts Nevis. And again, you go on the Eastern Parkway. You've been there before. You see all the St. Kitts and Nevis flags in the St. Kitts and Nevis food. We are well represented. And, since unity, St. Kitts and Nevis in the outer world has not have been together this much. Right? We have had the, like the independence functions and whatnot. And before, it would have been Dr. Huggins and myself and maybe one other person. You were there the last time, and you see the number of persons.
Yes.
All right? You see, people know, and I don't know if it is not published, the representations out in the outer world, the diplomats and the, people in places representing us, in the United States, Canada, England, Taiwan, and, other places. It was never like this before. That Nevisians were in such position. So, the people of Nevis have to, really think about, what they're doing or what they're saying. Because, it's a good thing.
Well, I think that
so we are not like we are not second class citizens like before.
Well, I think, Mr. Sadio, you have certainly identified something. You know me, and I have insisted that the people of Nevis are no less than anyone else, and that the people of Nevis are and have the full rights to the fruits of their citizenship, just like the people of St. Kitts. And I think that it is as a result of that position we have seen Nevisians now taking their rightful place. There is not one single Nevisian who has been put in any position who is not qualified to be there. And there is not one who has not been performing at the highest level for the benefit of the country. And I think that what you're saying needs to be said more often, because it is a sea change from what was. And remember, we had coalition governments before involving parties from Nevis. So it must be that in those coalition governments, those parties from Nevis did not insist that Nevisians be given an opportunity. We have insisted, and I think the results are there. And what you're describing is a manifestation of how much has changed in the last few years. So I think that needs to be said more and more.
Well, I've been around. I've seen where, there was a delegation, 8-9 people. And, there was not one division. And it's concerning St. Kitts. So it's a total difference. And again, I don't think the idea is we have St. Kitts and Nevis, we have to promote our island more, the island of St. Kitts and Nevis. You go to Grenada. I drive around Grenada. I was there. And if you drive around, even some of the rocks on the streets are painted in the Grenadian colors. The walls, they are painted. They are proud of their flag, they are proud of flag colors, and they do quite a lot to promote their country, and they're proud, and we just have to do better than what we're doing. Because we have some stalwarts who come out of Nevis, especially. Nice it is when I walk. Jamaica is a bigger island, and I will tell the guy, look, if you take out the wallet, you might have the picture of a Nevisian walking around with.
Mm.
That $10 with Alexander Hamilton.
Yes.
These are things we need to cherish and publish.
Okay. All right, brother. We'll leave it
Thank
there.
you,
Have a
Tom.
good night. It is 11 minutes to. Let's take some more calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Bradley.
Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yes. Mr. Bradley, the issue of the criticisms of the renaming of the courthouse. What I learned from my grandfather is a good way, a good yardstick to measure your criticisms by is to see whether you have an alternative. And if you don't have an alternative, stay quiet. All I've heard is criticisms. I have not heard an alternative. Not that it matters, but I have not heard one.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is, Liat, I wouldn't debate whether or not Liat is flying. What would we do? I think the more important thing is that somebody needs to evaluate Liat and find out why it is not performing.
You're on the air.
Hello?
We're hearing you. Nobody's cut you off.
Sorry, I thought I was cut off. Yeah, somebody needs to evaluate Liat and find out why it is not performing. One of my concerns is the kinds of aircraft that Liat started using. I'm not sure. Somebody needs to figure out whether that aircraft is the appropriate aircraft for the region where short stops and, I don't know how economical it is. One thing I could tell you is my almost 80-year-old my almost 80-year-old mother. Liat picked her up in St. Croix, took her to Antigua, from Antigua to St. Martin, from St. Martin to Tortola, Beef Island, back to St. Martin, and landed her in St. Kitts after midnight one night. I do not know how that affects the bottom line, but I do not think it's a positive effect. If they continue doing things like that, you don't have to look very far to see why Liat can be turning a profit. And Mr. Bradley, whereas you are debating that we never put any monies into Liat, you cannot dispute the fact that there's a constant stream of monies being pumped into Liat over the years, and it's still leading more. This cannot continue.
Caller,
it's not sustainable.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do you agree that some public goods, services, and other arrangements, that they exist because they do a public good, not for profit?
Well,
if you have a, let me use an example. You build a road. You may take up $20 million to build a road. You think that road would ever pay for itself? Even roads sometimes that have some kind of toll.
Yeah, that's not. I don't know if that's a good example. Yeah, I believe the road pays for itself.
How?
Because the people who use the road have to pay for it. And if that money is not put back into the road, then it's something's wrong.
$20 million, caller?
Yeah.
Caller, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
You know how hard it is to make $20 million in Nevis. You're saying people who use the road pay back for it how?
Mr. Brantley, look at it this way.
Yes.
The amount of cars you say coming in that is good for the economy. Multiply them by the 300 and
you ain't even start. You haven't, and you do. Let me tell you.
And
yes.
the trucks.
Let me tell you something.
$3,600 a year.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
I don't care how much you multiply, you don't even get a drop in the bucket compared to what roads cost to build. Right?
Mr. Bradley, an upfront cost, it is not paid right off all at once.
Well, it's not,
paid
but
over time.
it's not. But within 10 years, you have to repair the road.
Okay. What I'm saying is that
So
Liat's supposed to be able to turn a profit.
No, what I'm trying to tell you, yes, I understand that
if what you're saying is true, let's accept what you're saying. Well, then let's stop grumbling. Just keep pumping money.
Well, but my point is that everybody is saying Liat is supposed to turn a profit, and I understand that sentiment. But there is another school of thought that says Liat provides a public good. Liat ensures that you and I and your mom, who's 80, gets from point A to point B in the region in a manner where other airlines may not be willing to do it. It is not that other airlines may not be willing to come, you know.
Mr. Bradley, let's open on the place and then drop her off at 12 after 12 in the night, man.
Yes, but I don't know that that is the norm. That may well have been the aberration.
Mr. Bradley, what if you're looking for a norm, right? There are other things added to that is the norm with Liat, and they're not acceptable.
Caller, I find that we think, as with all of us, we go to the hospital in Nevis 100 times. 99 out of the times we don't have a problem. The one time we go and there's a problem, we call in the radio and we say,
yeah, that's true.
That is the nature of life. I have traveled.
Mr.
Listen,
Bradley, because this is a chronic ongoing situation with Liat. Or something. Either we accept it or do something about it.
But caller, I have traveled there, and I have had excellent experiences, and I've had bad experiences. Right? I don't know that Liat is people try to categorize it as the worst airline and all of that. But when they're on time, when they're running, they get you where you're going to go safely. They get you there on time. Hardly do you hear people turn around and say, job well done.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Brantley.
Yes.
With all the discomfort that people put up with Liat, don't they put up with it? You know what they're grumbling about? This constant demand for money and big sums too.
Well,
that is the problem.
And I understand that, and I think that, as I said, legitimate arguments have been raised about management, about how it's structured, and how we try to make it better. But I also believe that we must step back sometimes and say, what would our region be without Liat?
Yeah, well, that I heard you say earlier. Yeah, but I mean, another thing. Let's cut the demands. Let's say if they're supposed to break even. I believe that, you know, when you look at salaries, the kind of salaries that these people get, they're supposed to give a better performance. I believe they're supposed to give a better performance. I mean,
well, I think all of us would want better performance from Liat. Caller. You're not going to get any argument from me.
All right.
But I also believe that it is an important.
Yeah. Mr. Brantley, one last thing I wanted to discuss. I was listening to a documentary on 60 Minutes, and they were talking about the drug fentanyl and how it is deadly and what little of it takes to kill like so many thousands of people, and people are ordering it, and you can get it online, and you can get it online out of China. This guy said they did an investigation, and there are like 50 companies that popped up and saying that they could get you any drug that you need, any illicit drug that you need, and even if it's not on the market, they could arrange to get it. And they pinpointed one company and they're saying that they're coming down on China, that China should crack down on this and China should crack down on that. And I said, but wait. Well, they even said that this guy found a way to funnel these things into the U.S. Where the U.S. clamped down and they put legislation in place that the couriers have to declare whatever is in the packages, but the post office don't. So these labs and suppliers in China, would go through the post office, and that's how they're getting the thing. They'll take online orders, so multiple, and put them in one box, ship them to this one legitimate drug company, and have them distributed. And they are coming down on the Chinese. And I'm going like, but if your people ordering them, how come you can't stop your people from ordering them, but you want to stop them from selling them? You know? And if you made adjustments for your career, and you leave your post wide open, and then blaming the Chinese, converse with that, Mr. Brantley, is maybe, and you being the foreign minister, maybe we should clamp down on the U.S. for them guns that are coming into the Caribbean region and causing so much havoc.
How are you going to clamp down on the U.S.?
Well, how the U.S. going to clamp down on China for
No, you say we should clamp
at the drugs.
The U.S. and the China are elephants. I'm asking you, you say we should clamp down on the U.S. How do you propose we clamp down on the U.S.?
Mr. Bradley, you have to start somewhere. You are the diplomat.
All right.
You're the foreign minister.
Look like you want to give me a basket to carry water in, but I understand.
Listen, I thought I'll try and get your opinion on this.
Okay. All right. Good. The band has struck up. It means we have to go, caller. Thank you so much. You're the last caller for the evening. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for all who called. Tomorrow is a very special day. It's a day of prayer here on the island. We will not have a rebroadcast of this show, and I'm asking the members of the public to join me at 8 a.m. We'll be right there at the church in Bath Village, and we will have a day of prayer. And the idea is that people will drop in and come and spend a little time and be a part of it, and then leave, and others will come. But for the entire day, the church will be open, and they start at 8 a.m. God willing, I hope to be there, and we invite one and all to be a part of that. So a day of prayer tomorrow, right here on the island of Nevis. Good night, and God bless you. Thank you for all who called. Thank you for all who are part of the show. And tomorrow, let us pray together for safety. Let us pray together and thank God for all of his abundant blessings. And let us work together to build the best Nevis that we can. That's our show. Good night, and God bless you.